All right, we are back with another edition of the Astro Weather. It is Tuesday, July 1st. July is with us. July is upon us. And here we are, deep in the heart of summer, the dog days of Sirius rising, Heliacal Sirius, as the sun meets it, our binary twin, joining forces. It's a very powerful time of the year. Anyway, we're here, and welcome to the show. All right, let's see who is with us today as part of the Peanut Gallery. Let's see, there he is, DJ MC. We got Toronto Casper from Canada. What's up? The new next used to scuttle on the shore, claws in the sand, nothing more, but now I spread my shell and soar. This crab believes he can fly. I flap my fins up to the sky. No tide can hold me down tonight. I love it, new next. Let's throw that up there. So I used to play this video game with my son. I had a very brief period of playing video games. And he was young. He was like maybe, I don't know, 5, 6. And so he would sit on my lap and we'd play together. It was very benign stuff. It was like Mario Kart. And there was this one game where they had these different like creatures that were also cars. They could turn into cars and fly. And one of them was a crab. And it was a crab that could, but they all had their interesting little things that they could do. Some could do some things better than others, right? There was like a ladybug, there was a turtle, there was a crab. I forget what else there was, but it was a fun game. So there is a precedent in the video world where crabs can fly, but I like that. That was really cool. With every gust, I climb so high above the waves, I pinch the sky. New next, getting all poetic on us. I love it. We got a Kipling in our midst. I believe I can fly. I love it. Change of venue, joining you from Seattle, Washington. How about that? There we go. Misbehaving too. What's up? Susan. Hi, Susan. Adidas 99. Cool. That's very cool. Very cool. Lena Winkler. Hi, Lena. Good to see you. Somebody better call Tony Chicheri. He put the hoodoo power on the crabs again. We find more ways to. What are you doing? We find more ways to bring the novelty to the life of the crab. A dead wolf resistance here. Speaking of crabs, Barbara Boots scooted on back from Michigan. Over 6 days, 1,300 miles. There's Bo Kabuki Theater. Hello, hello, hello. My man Ryan's here. There you go. Right there, locals. Thank you, Ryan. Desley Loggum, great thumbnail. Let's all lift our feelings to a higher place. It's interesting because normally I use a program called Recraft, which is pretty good for AI images. And for whatever reason, it was down last night. So I had to find another free AI image source. And that's what came up. So there you go. Devin Dewar, Double D. We got Mercury retrograde coming. It's on its way. Let's see. Moira, NYC. Hey, Moira. Good to see you, Healing Heart Rosie. Yes, please hit the like. We've been doing much better on the likes. Much better on the likes. I appreciate it. Clicking for the algorithm. Yes. Thank you, Ryan. I was like, crabs, what? My plastic eyeballs take a while to work in the morning. Oh, that pic. I still can't see what it means. It's a crab with wings. It's a flying crab. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. Lisa Ann White, Julianne Ross, Soul Traveler, Healing Heart. My vacay was cut short. Uh-oh. Stung by a venomous caterpillar in Costa Rica. That sucks. Shit. That is such a weird thing. Stunned by, that's a good story though. I mean, it sucks. But now you can say, one time I was vacationing down in Costa Rica and I got stung by a venomous caterpillar. Like, how many people can actually say that? Not many, but you can now. Doesn't make your vacation or loss of it any better, but somewhere down the line, it'll make a good story. It'll make a good story, especially if you can find like the caterpillar and get a picture of it on your cell phone and show people. So you say, this is it. This is what cut my trip short. Night Slight, what's up, Night Slight? Yes, for a reading, that's where you go. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. Meow, meow. Hi, meow, meow. Janine is here. Hi, Janine. Laura E. Let's see. Uranus enters Gemini on my birthday. Busy month for us Cancerians. It's always a busy month for Cancerians. I was listening to this guy, Larry Kruger. He's a sports guy out of the Bay Area. I bet you Michael knows who he is. And he was congratulating his daughter on her 25th birthday. This was on Monday. So she's a Cancer, and she's studying to be, drum roll please, a nurse. Probably the best profession for cancer women, nurses, truly. So astrology, man, it unfolds in that way. She probably doesn't know, hey, I'm a Cancer and I should be a nurse. She's just naturally gravitating towards caring for other people. Elspeth Heron is here. There she is, a lovely and talented one, saving Austin one tooth at a time. By the way, Mercury retrograde is always a great time to have the Mercury removed from your teeth, and you could have a very nice medical vacation in Austin. Just saying. Let's see, Catherine Rosa. Hi, Catherine. Good to see you. Big Dave Sullivan is here. Road Trip 81. You know who that is. That's Darlene. Stephanie Hunter. What's up, Stephanie? Happy Cancer season. That's right. Yes, you can buy the old guy a cup of coffee right here. Thank you, Ryan. Rosie, that's nuts. So yeah, I know, that's crazy, right? We got Rolanda. Haridas 99. Josie got stung by an asp in Texas. Thing was huge and painful. What a pain in the asp. What a pain in the asp. There's our guy, Steve Thor at the door. Jen Adams. Hi, Jen. Right after that, here you go. Thank you, Ryan. 15 minutes of flame. Yes, we're going to get into Mr. Donald John Trump today. Athena's working on coffee number 2. I just crushed number 1. I usually only have 1 cup of coffee. Noelle Way is here. Hello, Noelle Way. It was scary. The ER was useless in San Jose. Made a quick decision and bought a ticket home. Look up Lonomia Electrica Caterpillar. Let's check it out. Let's see what we got here. Lonomia. Electric. Lonomia caterpillars. Caterpillars. Let's go to caterpillar. Ooh. It's the deadliest caterpillar in the world. This is interesting. Okay. This is really, we're going to bring this into astrology right here. We're going to bring this into astrology. So of course I'm going to have to undo this because oh, there we go. Okay, here we go. Oh, let's see. Share screen. Check this out. Let's see if you guys can see it. There you go. There you go. Check it out. All right. So the Lonomia obliqua is a species of the Saturnid moth. So this is what this thing becomes. Hey, Saturnid, right? Saturnid. You know, Saturn is Kronos, and it's the reaper. It is famous for its larval form rather than the adult moth, primarily because the caterpillar's defense mechanism and utricating bristles that inject a potentially deadly venom. The caterpillar has been responsible for many human deaths, especially in southern Brazil. Its venom has been the subject of numerous medical studies. The species was first described by Francis Walker in 1855. The Guinness World Records classified Lenomia obliqua as the most venomous caterpillar in the world. Look at that. Wow. You're lucky to be alive. Shit. This is a deadly, and they're only deadly when they're a caterpillar. But Saturnid, the Saturnid moth. Saturnidae. Interesting. I wonder what Saturn was doing in your chart. Very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Man, we're glad you're here. It's pretty fucking heavy, actually. We got ISCC with Patricia. Salty Cow. Hey, Joe. I'll put that up there. Like, subscribe. Thank you, Joe. Let's see. Wow. You better keep an eye on your post moth toxic poison reality. Some of that shit can linger in the joints and stuff. I'm not here to be a downer, but you just got to be careful. Neil Smith's here. Liddy Lewis here. Yes. We wish you a very speedy recovery for sure. Valeria Rubens checking in from Arizona. Mark S. There's our guy. Mark, what's going on, brother Mark? Good to see you. Leah Reynolds from Oregon. Hanging Laundry. Diane Evans. Who else we have? Esperanza Maya Rose from Mexico. Yes, you can buy the coffee right there. I think I already did that, but I'll do it again. Thanks, Ryan. Mr. Grano Moore is here. Hello, Mr. Grano Moore. Kelly B's with us. Privacy Anderson. Alexis, we got a full house today. Christine Mose, Integrity and Karma. Aaron Esser from Sweden. Let's put Aaron up there, all the way from Sweden. Hi, Aaron. Good to see you. Meow Meow Kitty Poop is here. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Vance Murashig. Emancipation, July 1st with the meditation. There's always something smaller, always something bigger. I like that. Guy Dance, Karen from New Zealand. Hi, Karen. Let's see. Harriet Bowie. Hey. Carol Moore, MFG. Man, I'm a Cancer. I don't want to be nurse, but I keep up. It's part of the package. So today, what do we have? 4th of July is about 3 days from now. Yeah, so it's almost like we'll have an artificial Thursday coming up, if you know what I mean. That moth is that fucking caterpillar is scary. Damn. Glad you're here. All right, let's get into the weather. 8:19. We get into the weather here. Saturnidae. Yes. The moth. The moth is the reaper. Actually, it's a caterpillar. But who's really keeping track? All right, here we go. Sun-Jupiter conjunction. Everything gets bigger. Bigger. This moon is coming into Libra. And we're going to have the moon in Libra much later tonight here. You folks over there on the other side of the pond will get there faster. By tomorrow, this moon will be just ingressing into Libra. So we're in a square here. Hypercritical. We get the hypercritical moment with that South Node moon conjunction. And Virgo is just such a judgmental sign, really judgmental sign. And look, if you find yourself wondering about how you raise your kids today, I could have done better, I could have done more. Just wait. It's okay. It's okay. Just wait. The moon will be in Libra. It'll still square Jupiter and the sun, but you have a better opportunity to balance it out. Today, again, a very hypercritical moon. And I would say that there are people who are not necessarily sort of looking for. I don't think there's a lot of like just universal acceptance today. It's a cranky day, actually, because, you know, Cancer is a crabby sign. You know, it can be crabby. And when you get this moon, this moon coming in here and squaring Sun Jupiter, which makes it all bigger, it's like the little things, right? It's just those little things that bug you. Or it's the little things that'll bug other people. And there's a proclivity to make the little things much, much bigger. Much bigger. Not only that, but we're going to have this moon. This will be kind of critical. Not critical in the same way that the Virgo moon is critical, but critical in the sense of its position. When it's going to move into Libra, it'll oppose Neptune, it'll square Sun Jupiter. And it's a very interesting moon to deal with as we come into this whole idea of the 4th of July. By the way, Canada, happy Canada Day. Today's Canada Day. Canada sort of piggybacking on the 4th of July, but wanting to get there first. So good on you, Canada. It still has that conjunction with Sirius, right? You can see it right here. There's Sirius. Here's the sun. So by the time 4th of July comes around, we have an exact conjunction with our binary twin, and that was part of the deal. That was Ben Franklin. He knew it. Of course, Sirius is a very important star for the Freemasonic order. It is essentially their realm of heaven, if you aren't aware of that. So, yeah, this moon in Libra opposing Neptune and squaring Sun Jupiter, it feels a lot like patriotism, you know? It feels a lot like patriotism. Meanwhile, the early degrees of that moon will also be trining Venus, Uranus, and Pluto. So there's like two separate realities going on. And the moon in Libra is trying to balance them out. Like, what is it about being, and apologies to the international people here, but what does it mean to really be an American? You know, there's this grand trine that gives us a different kind of image about what it is to be an American. And then we have this other thing going on, the T-squared, moon opposing Neptune, opposing Saturn, square Sun, Jupiter. People think that there's going to be like a false flag on the 4th of July. So we may as well talk about it. We may as well dispel the spell. So I think with this transit, certainly a possibility. Certainly a possibility. We got Mercury opposing Pluto, which we've been talking about for a while, and you know, the conversations around Mercury-Pluto opposition are raw, they're intense, they're kind of naked, right? Getting to the bone of what we want to be able to talk about, you know, keeping it real, you know, daring to find the courage and the heart to say what's on our hearts and minds. And this Mercury retrograde is going to be very interesting as it relates, because it's all setting up, right? It's all setting up in this Mercury-Pluto opposition. And as Mercury goes retrograde, it's going to go back into Cancer. And there's a sense here that people are going to want to protect themselves, right? They're going to want to sort of become more insular and more private and share less. What's interesting is that this Mercury retrograde in Leo kind of mirrors that Mars retrograde in Leo to Cancer that we started off with at the end of last year. And then we had to get up to speed ultimately. What Mars went direct in late January, right? 17 degrees. And then eventually it moved. It's very similar in terms of where Mercury's going to go retrograde. It's going to go back into Cancer, and then it's going to come back again. So it's kind of like a replay of that Mars retrograde. And I know for a lot of people, life happens really fast, but you may want to look at like what was going on in your life, basically from the beginning of December to the end of January, when we went through that retrograde motion. So, yeah, I think there's a possibility that things will be said during this time. And some people may have a hard time hearing what's being said. And then there's that retreat into Cancer, right? Sort of dealing with the wounds and dealing with because, there's a little bit of a bombastic energy too with the Mercury-Pluto opposition. Mercury in Leo is very dramatic. It's very, very dramatic. So the retrograde into Cancer is much more about self-healing and kind of going inside and really trying to figure out, well, what is it? What's going on here? How do I really feel about this? So it's going to be an interesting time just in terms of retreat. And that's what the crab does. The crab will retreat, will go into its shell, or, if it's got a home somewhere in a cliff face, it'll go back into the cliff face. And we're going to see that with Mercury. It's going to be interesting to see what happens like on the world stage. So Elon Musk is dusting up again, right? And Mercury's going to retrograde into his sign. Elon Musk is a Cancer rising with Mercury on the ascendant. So this retrograde Mercury is going to hit, I believe, his Mercury and his ascendant. So that'll be quite interesting. What else do we have here? Yeah, but this T-square, not a fan. And there's like weird shit happening, like this thing in Idaho. Very weird. Feels very false flaggy. And at the same time, like that's going on, Brian Coleman all of a sudden pleads guilty and wants a plea deal. Like that's really fucking weird. I mean, both things are happening in Idaho, right? They're not connected at all, but it's just strange. It's very, very strange that it's all happening at once. Anyway, what else do we have here? I do really like this Venus. Now, some people I've been reading about this on Twitter. Oh my God, Venus-Uranus conjunction. Yes, it's aneretic, but it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. I don't think it's bad. I think the potential for interesting connections, especially today with the trine to the moon, and because of the degree of the trine with Pluto, I think it's a super, super interesting grand trine. Throw in this, kite pattern up here. And yeah, I mean, I know that like communication can be very intense, but there's also this room for like spontaneity. And you don't have to be like locked into this sort of, fixed axis. I'm wondering what's going to happen with the housing market. Jupiter is still squaring Saturn, Neptune. I don't think the housing market's going to move until Jupiter gets to about that second degree, right? The second decan, which puts it into the Scorpio decan, like 10, 11 degrees. And maybe the money supply kind of opens up a little bit. Other people's money, the Fed, maybe they shave something off the interest rates a little bit to get the housing market. Because really, that's one of the big things that moves the economy. It's a fucking housing market, and it's just stagnant. It's just totally stagnant. And but the Jupiter will get there, but we're still in that square. We're still in that square, and we've been in that square for a while. And Neptune's joined the party. So there's this strange kind of hope, like this hopium. And then the square with Saturn is, well, this is what's really real. And I feel like in a lot of ways, this sort of encapsulates the split in Mega. right? Because the Jupiter-Neptune square, the Jupiter in Cancer is very American. You know, it's very American, it's very folk, it's very family, it's of the people, right? And the squaring of Neptune just kind of distorts it in a lot of ways. Like people can be like hyper patriotic or, you know, hyper mega. And then the square with Saturn, Jupiter square of Saturn, is this other group, which is like, yo, this, you know, big, beautiful bill is going to kill us. It's going to absolutely destroy what's left of the economy, right? And so you have these factions, or even if you want to take it to the war theater, you have these factions going on, which is one side is going to be more conservative with that Saturn square, and the other side with Neptune kind of blows it up, and people insert their own importance. They insert their own narrative, and some of it's just not connected to reality. It's just not. It's just based on a lot of hopium and faith. Like some people have unending faith in Donald Trump. I mean, I think he's interesting. I think he's a disruptor. I think he's funny. I wouldn't say I have unending faith in Donald Trump. I haven't had any faith in any president for shit. Well, maybe most of my life. Like I knew Nixon as a kid. Maybe that was it. Everybody else after that's like, don't place your trust in politicians. Just don't. When their lips start moving, they're lying. The only guy that has any gravitas is Thomas Massey. That's it. That's it. He's the only one. And I guess this Tom Willis guy, but he's gone. His last fuck you was to vote no on the BBB, the triple B. What else do we have here? A lot going on. I think we should just keep an eye out for the 4th of July. I do think that there is this potential for, and I've said this starting in 2020. I really thought in 2020, Summer of Floyd, Antifa, man, they are really going to have a purge moment. They're really going to ramp this, and they didn't. I'm like, you guys missed a great fucking opportunity. Well, at least the intelligence community did. A couple of inconjuncts. We got an inconjunct with the moon and Chiron today. Yeah, I mean, it feels like a little butthurt. You know, feels a little butthurt. Like people, like you may say something, and somebody else takes it completely the wrong way, and they're a little butthurt about it. And then we also have the inconjunct with Jupiter and Pluto. Yeah, I mean, again, money comes to mind. Solvency, again, the Fed dealing with other people's money. I think, we haven't really talked about at a national level. We really haven't talked about abortion for, well, like we had Roe v. Wade back to the States, right? Today is one of those days with this moon Chiron inconjunct. And there are other countries in the world that deal with abortion and abortion rights, one of whom is England. And if I'm not mistaken, they basically have passed this law in the House of Commons. If you're from that part of the world, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But they have basically said, yeah, you can have the baby and kill it, like full-term abortion. Not even late term, full term. And to me, that's that Chiron moon inconjunct. And, in Chiron and Aries, it's kind of bloody, right? It's kind of bloody. And if you look at Aries, it actually resembles the female reproductive organs, which we've noted on numerous occasions. Not a lot of air, so it's hard to get some objectivity. That's going to change a little bit when the moon goes into Libra. And then, of course, on the 7th, we've got Uranus coming into Gemini. If you haven't watched Sunday Night Show, I highly recommend it. All right, let's get into our star of the day here. Now, for those of you who have a, how do I say this, a rather conservative sensibility, you may not necessarily find this star of the day your cup of tea, but he plays a very interesting role in American history. So today's True Hemp Science star of the day is none other than Scotty Bowers. And we're going to get into the Scotty Bowers story here in a minute. But first, True Hemp Science is your one-stop shop for all things CBD right there. A little Synapta. Might even have a little bit of Synapta right now. We get that nice, thick, viscous sort of color texture. Reminds me a little bit of kava. It's got kind of a kava taste to it. It's not bad. You know, actually, I kind of like things that are borderline earthy, bitter, right? And it's got just a little touch of sweet in it too. So Synapta is good. Anyway, Synapta is one of the it is one of the products that you can get at truehempscience.com. All you got to do is spend $100 more, type in 15MINS, and you will get the vaunted goodie bag with a couple of vials and some gummies, whatever Chris has around. And if you're a frequent flyer, there's a really good chance you'll get some of the white label stuff that he's working on, right? So, you know, being a frequent flyer has its privileges. $150 more gets you free shipping. There's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. TrueHempScience.com. All right, let's talk about Scotty Bowers. Now, some of you may know who Scotty Bowers is. Others who do not know who Scotty Bowers is, let me tell you about Scotty. Scotty was a Marine, fought in Guadalcanal, and after he got out of the Marines after World War II, he got a job as a gas station attendant on the corner of, I believe, Hollywood and I forget the other street. But it was a highly frequented gas station by the quote-unquote stars of Hollywood. So Scotty was known for a couple of things. One, apparently, he was very well endowed. And the other was that he had a charm about him that was very beguiling. Like, people would describe Scotty Bowers as almost like an avatar or a Svengali. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but Robert Heinlein wrote a book called Stranger in a Strange Land. And the main character in that book is a guy by the name of Mike, who is born on Mars. And he's born in like a pool, like underwater. So he has these really, because there's like gravity issues. So Mike returns to Earth and he becomes this sort of sexual avatar. And one of the things that Mike is able to practice is complete lack of judgment. When I say judgment, I'm not talking about judgment in terms of doing things that are going to be deleterious in the person's life, but judgment in terms of one's own experience. And also just a complete acceptance of other people. Scotty Bowers had this. So Scotty Bowers winds up soon after starting at this gas station. Walter Pidgeon drives in, famous actor. and they start up a conversation. And Walter Pidgeon says, "Hey, do you want to come back to my place?" Scotty says, "Sure." And a couple hours and $20 later, Scotty Bowers has a new career. And Walter Pidgeon spread the news, and Scotty Bowers becomes basically Hollywood's pimp. And he's totally bisexual, and he's hooking people up. Now, what he would do is his gas station was like they had a like an Airstream failure behind the gas station, and he lived there, but he got so busy that like he would do tricks there. But he also would employ other people, like he would employ female and male prostitutes. And oddly enough, there was like a lot of male on male and female on female stuff going on, oddly enough. So one of the things that, if you look at his chart, let's get into his chart. And he does this for years. Like he goes from being a gas jockey to being a bartender. And he bartends all of these like ritzy parties in Hollywood. And are you kidding me? This is the perfect environment for this guy. He never once got busted. The cops never, hassled him. There's this cinematographer named Nestor Alejandros, left him his Oscar. There's this other guy that left him three, not one, not two, but three houses. Scotty Bowers was kind of beloved in Hollywood. You know why? Because he could keep a secret. He could keep a secret. Sun, Pluto, Mars, all in the 12th house, right? And he's got that Mars-Pluto conjunction. It's like Mars and Scorpio. It has an intense sort of sexuality that's attached to it. But I'm going to go one step further. There was something about Scotty Bowers, and it's like he's kind of a healer in a weird way, right? Because he has absolutely no judgment. One of the things he talks about was, having a threesome with Spencer Tracy and Olivia de Havilland, right? Setting up Cary Grant with Rock Hudson. He probably was like in with those guys too. Like he didn't really care. And he kept everything completely and utterly discreet. And he did everything in his head. Right? Everything in his head. Like all of his contacts were in his head. Like there was no written evidence that anybody could ever like go back to. Now, after all these people died, he wrote a book. And it's a pretty salacious tell-all book. And there's actually a documentary on him. He's a Leo rising, right? He has Juno and Leo right on the ascendant. I mean, the guy is exuding charisma, and there's Neptune in the first house. Where's the boundaries? There is no boundaries. This is what you get with Neptune in the first house sometimes. It's like, hey, who do I want to sleep with today? Man, woman, 2, 3, 4, doesn't really matter. Right? And this guy was this magnet. He was this magnet for wild, licentious, bisexual, and ultimately like gay Hollywood. I'm just calling it like it is, right? He's got that Mercury Venus conjunction, 1918, 11th house, Gemini. Which side? Am I batting from the left today? Am I batting from the right? Doesn't matter. And he has this moon in Aquarius, again, detached, cool, no judgment, trining Mercury, Venus, coming in here, trining Saturn, Saturn exalted in Libra, third house, local. He's a local fixer, right? And he was a soldier, Chiron in Aries, Aries conjunct his midheaven. It's a very interesting chart. Very, very interesting chart. And I think the square with Saturn here with Mars and Pluto and the sun, like one of the things that they talk about is like he was like a really hard worker too. He didn't care what he did. Like if he had to go out and, mow somebody's lawn in Hollywood, he didn't care, right? Or if he had to, maybe he knew some plumbing, like he knew some plumbing tricks, he would do it. He never complained. He always had a smile on his face, right? And look, True Note and Virgo, what are we talking about here? Service, right? Service. And over here on the back end, we got the South Node in the 8th house, which is sexuality and Uranus. So Scotty's got the kink on. He has the kink on. But yeah, he's just into serving other people and living out his true fucking node, right? Jupiter and Scorpio, like heightened sexuality. Like that's his root. And this grand trine comes in. He's got an interesting grand trine here. Jupiter trine Uranus. So he's very open to opportunities, super open to opportunities. This is the improvisational trine. And then Jupiter trine Sun, Jupiter trine Pluto. So yeah, very, very interesting chart. Jupiter square Moon, Jupiter square Neptune. Again, these Jupiter squares. They're not like Saturn squares. It's kind of like what if we open this up more? What if I double down? What if I start this, grand project that I have to follow up on, right? And he's got these 2 grand trines. He also has this one with air. So he has a water grand trine, Jupiter, Uranus, right? Pluto, Mars. And then he has an air grand trine, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, the moon. This guy's got double grand trines. Like this is a powerful chart. Very, very powerful chart. And you may, kind of look down on the licentiousness of Scotty Bowers. And clearly, did he contribute to Hollywood's depravity, or was Hollywood's depravity already there and he just massaged it? Is it the chicken or the egg? I don't know. You be the judge. But at the end of the day, nobody ever said a bad word about Scotty Bowers. And it had to do with the fact that he was incredibly discreet. Incredibly discreet. Whether it was Cary Grant and Randolph Scott living together, or whether it was Cary Grant and Rock Hudson hooking up, or whether it was Katharine Hepburn and her numerous lesbian affairs, he never said a damn thing. Never. And it wasn't until all these people passed away that he finally wrote a book. So it's just, it's a strange star of the day, but Scotty Bowers, I think the guy maximized his chart. We talk about maximizing your chart in astrology. Sometimes it's, it's not always going to be white picket fences and, heroic tales of standing up against the man. In his case, he's a hustler, right? And he's a hustler that a lot of people said, well, he just had a heart of gold. Never made anybody feel bad. He's got a mystic rectangle. This is a very interesting chart. Very interesting chart. And if you think about it, like you have all these people running around, they're all closeted, right? They're all fucking closeted. And he's like, it's not a big deal. It's not, you're okay with me, right? Your like secret is safe with me. And oh, by the way, you can pay me $20 when we're done. Right? So there you go. There's your True Hemp Science star of the day, Scotty Bowers. If you're interested in finding out more, there's a documentary that was done on him that you can watch. And I think there was actually a movie that was made. Scotty actually was in a couple of movies himself back in the, he got cast, but he didn't want to be a star. All he wanted to do was fucking make people happy, to serve them. Isn't that weird? Especially in that way. But it's not. True note in Virgo, right? He's basically living his destiny. And he's pulling off that kinky Uranus in the 8th house with that South Node. Part of fortune in the 8th house too. Sexuality, taboo, secrets. It's all there. It's all there. Reads like a map. All right. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed our presentation, whether it's the Astro Weather or the start of the day. We'll be over on 15 Minutes of Flame over on Rumble, and we're just going to take a look at the aftermath of what happened for I guess it's called the 12-day war now. And we're going to see what Trump is up to, and this weird event in Idaho where these firefighters got ambushed, and what might be behind all of that. All right. You know the drill. Take care of yourself. Treat each other well. God bless. Love you all. Bye for now. Robert Phoenix signing off.